It's time for the Coach's Corner, your weekly look at Baker University football. Let's head to Monty's Seafood and Barbecue in downtown Baldwin City, Kansas. Here's your host, Brad Barnes.
Hello and welcome to Week 5 of the Coach's Corner. This week a little different than the past couple weeks as the Wildcats suffered their first loss this weekend. They are now 4-1 after Missouri Valley came into town. Missouri Valley took that game 31-17. I'm Brad Barnes here alongside head Baker football coach Mike Grossner. And Coach, you talked to your team Friday about this game and how it would be a drag-out battle to the end. In the fourth quarter, you guys are in the red zone looking to score with 4 minutes left to go.
Yeah, I mean, we knew going in if we did things right that it'd be a four-quarter game. I felt like we didn't start off well. We handed them 14 points. You cannot do that to the number 5 team in the nation. After the halftime, we had a nice couple adjustments at half, and offensively we got going in the second half. We didn't have very many possessions. We only had 5 possessions total in the second half. But I felt like once we started getting in the groove, we got ourselves back in the ball game. And like you said, towards the end there, if we make one more play, we fell 5 yards short, ended up on about the 12-yard line. Needed 5 more yards to knock in that last drive, and then we're going to onside kick. The whole stadium knows it, and if we get it back, we got a good chance to tie it up. But it was lost early. And there are about 10 plays in big games that you can look back on and try to hopefully change those the following week to make things better.
Now you look back at most of the success that Missouri Valley had in this game, it goes back to field position. The defense did not allow a score at all when Missouri Valley started in their own territory. What does this tell you about your offense and your defense?
Well, we've always had a philosophy, bend, don't break on defense, and we believe in that. We believe once they get down in the red zone, it's going to be tough to score. We gave up one big play early on a pass play, and then they broke a nice run in the first half. So, we felt like we spotted them 14 points. Once we settled in as a defense, I felt like we played great team defense. And then, offensively, that's a tough defense. They're always ranked in the top 3 against the rush. They make you throw the football. I felt like going into the fourth quarter that we finally established the run, and then we were able to play action a little bit off of it and hit some big pass plays. So, really, if we had gotten it going a little bit earlier, I think it would have been a little different result towards the end.
Now, Jake Morris comes back for a huge start against Missouri Valley. He suffered that ACL injury. He came back against Central Methodist last week and goes against the Vikings this week. He had a rough night in the pocket. There was the loss of Ian Autry this week. He had to shift some guys around. How much did that play into this offensive game? Well,
our left tackle, Ian Autry, has been a year-and-a-half starter. He's a guy that can protect the backside. He's 6'6", 310 pounds, and he's very long and he's tough to get around. So having to put Justin McCandless outside, Justin's our starting right guard. Justin's got a little knee injury that's pretty nagging, so his footwork isn't as good as it normally is. So that was a tough assignment for him to be out on an island at left tackle, pass prone against those guys. And then we had to insert Tanner Clark, a redshirt freshman with a broken hand, and ask him to get inside and do some dirty work. So I think what we got out of it was, we missed Ian. There were a couple sacks there that we gave up that we normally don't. But I think we found a player in Tanner Clark. He played nasty in the run game. He was very good. He had about 3 breaks in the pass game assignment-wise that hurt us. But what we got out of it was we'll have Ian this week. We'll have Justin back into his normal spot, and then we've got to find a way to play Tanner a little bit.
Okay. You guys had an opportunity to run a 2-minute offense there at the end of the first half. You come out, play into it, an interception is thrown. How does that interception affect the outcome of this game?
Yeah. That's about as bad a thing that can happen in the 2-minute on play 1. So, looking back, we would have done the same thing. We felt good at 14-3, but all of a sudden we got the ball, got a penalty in our favor, and we were out near midfield with a minute left or minute plus. my style is go for the score, and it will always be. You want your offense thinking points right there. We're down 14-3. We got to get back, and possessions are limited, and that was one extra possession for us to end the half, knowing they were going to get the ball to start the second half. So there's no doubt we go for the score now. It was a fairly safe play that we ran. What they did was roll up in cover 2, corner squatted on our short hitch route, but then bailed back when the ball was thrown, and he's a good enough athlete that he picked it off. Tough play. Now, as a team, we need to stop them right there. It goes both ways. I don't think our sudden change was very good. When I say sudden change, when big things happen, whether it be a big turnover on our part or defense got a turnover for us, I don't think our sudden change in this game was very good, and that affected the outcome, because right there, we turn it over, boom, defense got to make a stop. Defense in the first half got us a couple turnovers, and we did nothing with it offensively. Those are what I call crucial situations in a game, and if you win the crucial situations, you usually win the game.
All right, well, that was the look at the first half of play. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the second half, where the Wildcats found some more success. And then later on in the show, we've got wide receiver Kyle Bolton coming on to talk about the game. We'll take a break, and we'll be right back with the Coach's Corner. And welcome back to the Coach's Corner. We just got done talking about the first half with head coach Mike Grossner after the 31-17 loss as the Missouri Valley Vikings came into town. Now let's take a look at the second half. Coach, first off, when you're down 21-3 in a game like this, one of the top games in the nation, number 9 versus number 5, what do you tell your team at halftime to try to spark a second half effort?
What I told them what I thought might happen, knowing the character of our kids and how we got down 21-3. It wasn't like they were dominating us. We were shooting ourselves in the foot. So what I told them, we've got to get back in it in the third quarter, try to get within 2 scores. And then we're a good fourth quarter team, and we've been real good against Missouri Valley in the fourth quarter. We've always, if we had a shot, we made it close or won the game. So I kind of had a vision of what I thought might happen if we do it right, kind of explained the end zone we were going to go into to finish it off, where all our fans were. Problem was at 28-3 or 24-3, I saw our fans dispersing a little, so my plan was getting a little awry there, but as we got that comeback going, I noticed the fans starting to come back down on the field and giving us a home field advantage on that end. It almost was a great story, but the game isn't played for 5 quarters. And I felt like we were right there, but we just didn't get it done.
Now you talk about that comeback. You guys made a great stand there in the second half. What can you take away from that as a head coach?
Well, I told the team on Sunday, to me, Missouri Valley's an elite football team. They're ranked 4th right now. They're that team that we know we got to get through in the playoffs to get our national title. And we now know physically that we can stand up and go toe-to-toe with them. And so that tells us as a football team that we can be physical. And so that tells us, okay, we feel like we're one of those elite teams if we play right. We've got to make the plays and not turn the ball over and do the right thing in the game of football. But from a talent standpoint, we have some talent. We have some guys that can get nasty, and we have some speed on the outside on both sides of the ball. So I felt like we came out of that game, even though we lost, we had a lot of positives. And if our guys do it right and look at those positives and keep working hard, this game might help us in the long run.
Well, Jake Morris has been the go-to guy all year for you. He comes back after his ACL injury, and he looked very uneasy in this game, as we mentioned, the pressure that he had all night. Sam Boston steps in the second half and leads a comeback, almost gives the Wildcats enough to win. What's the quarterback situation at this point?
Everybody likes to create maybe a controversy. I don't look at it as that. I see us as having 2 guys that can win for us. And it's a lot better than having 1 guy that can win for you going into a game. So I played that position, so I understand all the dynamics of it and what's involved. The key to our success with those 2 guys, does the team believe both those guys can win for us? And Sam has proven it in a short season this year. Jake has proven it in the long run. So to me, our team should be looking at it as a positive. Hey, both those guys win out there, and win going right can win for us. Now, the other night, with the pressure that Jake was getting, and he threw a couple balls that he normally doesn't throw, it might not have been his leg. It might have been his head. You know, that's a position that you got to play with your head as well. So I have great faith and great trust in both those kids. And I know we're going to need them both, and it's a long season. We're only halfway home. I think both of them will step up to the table and help us win, and we're going to need both of them. You know, from Jake's standpoint, we're going to evaluate him. You know, I know he's a good quarterback. Our team knows that, but he's playing with an ACL, blown ACL, so we really got to look at him in practice. Is he moving as well as he needs to move for our offense to produce? We are not going to take a step back. We are not going to mold our offense around one guy because he's got limitations. So we're going to find out if he can do that, and if he can't, Sam will be in there, and I'm sure we're going to need Jake. So either way, like I said, we're going to need both of them.
All right. Well, you guys dropped from 9 to 13 after the loss this week. You talked about playing the number 5 team in the nation. They just now moved up to 4, and this week we're going to play Mid-America Nazarene. How do you stack up to those top 10 teams?
I think we stack up well. You know, we've proven we beat 2 top 10 teams last year during the year, and you know, we just took on, I think, a Final Four type team. And you know, this week, you know, Mid-America started the year number 4 in the country, took a loss to Missouri Valley, dropped all the way down to 13. Now they're back to 11. I think it's a toss-up. You can flip a coin from number probably 8 to 18, and it'd be a good ball game. Those teams are fairly matched up. I think when you get to the top 4 in the country, yeah, there's something different about those teams. You hope to get your team at that level by the end of the year, and I think that's where we could be. But we got to take it week to week. Yeah, we lost. We can't let Missouri Valley beat us twice. And if we're still licking our wounds from last week, we're going to get it handed to us this week. The other thing is, if our guys can't get ready for Mid-America, then why are they playing the game of college football? We haven't beaten them in 13 years, so there's no reason to overlook. There's no reason not to focus on them, and there's no reason to take great pride in getting something done that hasn't been done around here in a long time. It was 1999 last time we won. Now we've had double overtime loss. We've had an overtime loss. Last year was 33-30. We had the lead with 5 minutes left. We let them score, and then we didn't score. So, you know, there's a lot of history here. They're 20 miles up the road, and I know 120 guys that are ready to take on the task.
Well, we'll talk more about Mid-America Nazarene when we come back, but first, Kyle Bolton joins us, wide receiver for the Wildcats, and we'll have him on set right after this break. We are now here joined by wide receiver Kyle Bolton. Coach talks about Kyle Bolton's speed as the fastest guy in the Heart of America Conference. Kyle, you had 107 all-purpose yards this weekend, 37 on the ground, and 70 through the air. Talk about your role on this offensive unit.
Well, my role is basically whatever the coaches need. I just try and get around the edge and help that deep threat kind of push the safeties back, and I kind of just try and help take the top off the defense.
Now, you are hands down the fastest guy on the team. Do you feel that other teams target you because of that?
I think they talk about it, but I wouldn't say they target it because you have so many other good receivers on our team, like Jake Green, who's probably the most consistent receiver we have, Reggie Harris, who makes big-time plays all the time, and then Hatcher, who is always there for us when we need big plays. I mean, it's hard to target just one player on our offense.
Now, as a senior leader on this team, you guys are down at halftime like we've talked about. What is your role in the locker room and coming back onto the field to try to get a spark in that second half?
My role is basically same with Jay Green, everyone. We're just trying to lighten the mood. It was kind of down a little bit for the offense, but once you got people talking and just kind of laughing a little bit, kind of lightens the mood and brings you back to say, okay, yeah, we're still in this, we can get it done.
Okay, and as far as, you know, you're 5 games into the season, where do you feel the emphasis on work is for the offense at this point in the season?
Oh, we just got to finish. We had our chances, like you guys saw. We were in the red zone, I think, 5-6 times, and we couldn't really produce. we just need to man up and finish in the red zone, and I think that's what we're going to focus on this week and the rest of the season going into the playoffs.
Okay, and last thought, what do you think about Mid-America this weekend?
They're tough. It's a crosstown rivalry. We're going to need to bring our A game. They're pretty big and physical, but we're ready for them.
All right, well, that's senior wide receiver Kyle Bolton. He had 107 all-purpose yards this weekend. Let's hope he can do it again against the Pioneers. We're going to take a break. We'll come back, and we'll talk with Coach a little bit more about this Mid-America squad. Stay tuned for the Coach's Corner. And welcome back to the Coach's Corner with head football coach Mike Grossner. Now we're going to take a look at this upcoming game against the Mid-America Nazarene Pioneers. And, Coach, you talked about the rivalry. We know that it's been 13 years since the Wildcats have won this matchup. How ugly is this game going to be?
Well, add rain to it, because that's what I've checked the forecast, and we're playing on grass, which we normally aren't used to doing. We're playing over at the Olathe District Stadium instead of Mid-America Stadium. So the weather's going to be tough. The rivalry, you know, I look at a rivalry, you got to win some games to really have a rivalry. But even though that's not the case from our end, it's still a good rivalry. You know, in 08, we went over there, played a double overtime game. Probably, I've been told by many people that have watched a lot of football that's one of the greatest games they've ever watched. And there wasn't a lot of mistakes. 2 overtimes, their coach decided to go for 2 to put it into it, and they crossed the goal line by about that much and won the conference championship and took it from us. And then last year's ball game, I would say, that comes back to mind. We had control in the first half. Right before half, we had a personal foul penalty that we had to kick from our own 20. They got the ball around midfield and punched in a score that made a difference in momentum. And then in the second half, we regained it. We felt like we took the lead in the fourth quarter. Felt like we were going to get out of there with a win. And with 5 minutes left, they went on a long drive and converted a couple big plays and scored. And then we didn't finish the game. We went to our 2-minute offense and didn't finish. So 33-30, and you know they're a top 5 team in the country, and we're left out of the playoffs. So, yeah, it is going to mean a lot. Even though it's Game 6 in our season, the repercussions of a win would be great. The repercussions of a loss would be awful at this point. Yeah, I'd say as far as a mid-year game, this is a do or die for us.
Now you talk about that rivalry, and it's not just in football. It's across the board with sports. We take a look at last year, the basketball, volleyball, soccer, all of those championship games came down to Baker and Mid-America. How much of a role does that play into this game with the student section and the fans?
Yeah, I think we're playing like we always are on Saturday for our school. But it's heated up even more, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They made some chants at the basketball game that I attended at their place that I didn't particularly like, and made our players aware of it. So, no, we don't like each other. And I have great respect for their head coach. He's a friend of mine, John Quinn, former chief QB, and a couple other teams in the league, and he does a great job with his guys. But when it comes on that Saturday for that 2.5 hours, there's not a lot of love lost there, and hey, give them credit. They've owned us in football, so we've got to change that. And our mindset going into the game has to be, hey, we expect to win. We're going to find a way to win, and it's going to make it even tougher playing on the road. But we got to do it, and that's kind of the attitude we're going to take from Tuesday on, preparing for it. And then, you know, I've got a good feeling if our kids do what they're coached to do, we'll have a chance to win.
Okay, and if we take a look at the offense and the defense, on offense they return Ransburg at quarterback, a very talented guy. He can run, he can throw. On defense, what can we expect to see from the Pioneers?
You know, they've got a lot of changes. I went through their personnel today. They've got only 2 starters back from last year. They're playing some backups from last year are now starters, which is a natural deal from year to year. But I feel like they're a different defense, especially up front. They lost a couple kids that were real good. Their defensive end from last year it was a tear off the edge. So I feel like they're still finding themselves over there on defense a little bit, but they're playing at a high level. And their secondary is real good. They got J.D. Woods back, who had an ACL injury. He was a starter in 2010 and an impact guy with their leading interception guy returning last year until he got hurt. And then Danton Anderson is a linebacker in the past that they moved back to safety. He's a very active kid. He'll come up and hit you, and you got to know where he's at. So I feel like their safety plays really good right now. At corner, they got 2 new faces, so we'll find out what they're all about. But, if we execute on offense, we should have some success. And then their offense is really, when you look at their football team, Ransburg's a special player. Mm-hmm. He could play on Sundays if he does it right. It won't be at quarterback, but that just happened to where they got him in their lineup because he's touching the ball every play, which is scary. The Gates kid at running back, I thought was the best back in the league last year, and in our game he blew his ACL. And watching him this year, he's come back, and he's as good as he was before the injury. So that 1-2 tandem is probably 80% of the offense, and it's scary that they're both the nearest guys to the ball when it's snapped. So we've got quite a challenge there. And then, they've got a group of receivers that get the job done. They got a new kid, number 18, that's about 6'5", 220, that can run. So to me, he's replaced Redmond, their All-American tight end, number 6 from last year. And he's doing a lot of what they did with him. And so we were all happy to see Redmond leave, but now all of a sudden I'm seeing this young man just do it well as sometimes as well as he did. And then they've got another receiver on the outside that's got some speed that they're trying to feature as well. So the weapons are there. I think the challenge from our defensive end is we got to stop the run. We have got to stop Ransburg. He's the one that last year was running all over us. We knocked him out of the game. Tyler Hurl comes in. He was supposed to be the thrower, and the way to finish the game was him on 3 scrambles. Mm-hmm. So our challenges are huge on defense. And then offensively, we can't turn the ball over. We got to control it. We got to score.
All right. Well, the Wildcats can use all the fan support they can get as they prepare for their 3rd Top 25 showdown of the season. This one will be at ODAC, as Coach mentioned, the Olathe District Complex in Olathe, Kansas. The game will start at 6 o'clock. Big thanks to Ziamara Nunez, Clayton Naff, Ricky Thine, Coach Grossner, and Kyle Bolton. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week at Monty's at 6 o'clock. Have a great week.